We are now in week 6 of the NFL season. Let's get back into my NFL Mountain, the tier list where I put my spin on the NFL Power Rankings. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. There are 2 teams remaining undefeated here in the NFL, and many more that have hit the bottom of NFL Mountain. There's also a logjam right in the middle. Let's go through it alphabetically. I appreciate you guys coming back for another video. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button, hitting the subscription button and notify bell. Make sure you don't miss any future videos coming up here on the channel. We do have a membership option available where I do my live play-by-play game reactions, tier lists like this, and much more fun content, but of course, all the fun free stuff you've come to love. Thank you guys so much for coming along. Let's get into NFL Mountain. Remaining at the top of my NFL Mountain is the Kansas City Chiefs, who eked out another victory, this time against the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football in Week 5. They are now at 5-0, and until somebody knocks them off the top of that mountain, they will stay there, in my opinion. We're going to go through a few teams that may compete to get to the top of that mountain coming out of Week 6. Moving down NFL Mountain, of course, we have our Super Bowl contenders, the true teams that could compete with Kansas City to be that next Super Bowl winner. Then we have the in the hunt teams that are competing for playoff spots. Next, in the middle of NFL Mountain, we have the who are you category. Those teams that have wavered kind of up and down, not sure if they're contenders or pretenders. Then we have our barely hanging on category, and you see we've added some teams that were in the bottom of NFL Mountain. The New York Giants, who earned themselves a victory in Seattle this past week. I thought Daniel Jones looked good. The running game surprisingly looked good. I think the running back Tracy looked very good there. They were without Malik Nabers, their star wide receiver, so some things kind of came together. So they've now dug themselves out of the NFL bottom of the mountain and are in our barely hanging on category. At the same time, the Miami Dolphins also earned themselves a victory, although it was over one of the bottom feeders there, the New England Patriots. Any team with 2 victories is in the mix here, and we'll find that out as we move forward with our NFL Mountain tier list. So let's dive into it. Of course, we go alphabetically, starting with the Arizona Cardinals, who have been up and down this NFL Mountain. They started off hot this season, went into a lull, and now have sort of climbed out of it with another victory, this time on the road in San Francisco. They had a much better second half than first half. Kyler Murray sort of rounding back into form. Marvin Harrison Jr. getting involved. So I have moved the Arizona Cardinals into the who are you category, as they've been up and down here so far in this NFL season. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons, who also have been up and down NFL Mountain, but have started to piece some things together here. Kirk Cousins seems to be rounding into form as well, and they've pulled out a lot of close playoff-like victories here early on in the season. That will move them, for me, in the hunt. I think with a hot Kirk Cousins, a young team there behind him, I think you have some good things cooking, as Atlanta is now at 3-2. And the Baltimore Ravens, who continue to climb out of that 0-2 start, get another victory over Cincinnati, get just enough out of their defense to pull some things out. So they will continue to stay in the Super Bowl contender category as they stack up these wins. And potentially moving the opposite direction is the Buffalo Bills, who suffered another loss, again falling way behind in another road game and unable to climb themselves out of it. They lose a tough matchup, a last-second loss to Houston. I think at this point now, Buffalo at 3-2 have fallen out of the Super Bowl contender category. I have them now just in the hunt. Next up is the Chicago Bears, who earned another win, but this time over one of the NFL bottom feeders, the Carolina Panthers. But a win's a win, and as Caleb Williams starts to build confidence, he seems to be a better quarterback. And as with a lot of young players, that tends to be the case. More confidence breeds more winning. So I guess it really comes down to who their opponents are and what level can the Chicago Bears play at that particular week. That seems to be where they're at. Because of this, I still have the Bears in the who are you category. I think there's going to need to be several more weeks, more time, more seasoning for Caleb Williams to see who this team really is. And perhaps I'm biased towards Joe Burrow. I think he's a fantastic quarterback, and he's truly been good this season. That Bengal offense has been good this season, but their defense just doesn't hold on for them. So maybe just for a little bit of luck, I'm moving them to the bottom of NFL Mountain this week, and they're in our toilet bowl contender category. It's really hard to get a feel for that victory that Dallas had over Pittsburgh on Sunday night. It was very, very sloppy, but it is an on-the-road victory in those conditions against a decent team in the Steelers. But they will have a tough time now going back home against a very good team in the Detroit Lions. Dallas now at 3-2. I have them in the hunt, but we're going to find out a lot about them this week. Now up is Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, who earn another victory. They're now at 3-2. And I think some things are starting to roll there. The defense, their special team seems to carry the day just to get them enough so that Bo Nix can continue to grow and find out who he is with Sean Payton in this offense. And I think they're really starting to do some things there. So for right now, I have them now in the hunt. The Detroit Lions, who are coming off their bye week, and they will head to Dallas for a tough road game here, trying to avenge that weird loss they had last season and the ineligible situation. I think the Lions bye week did them well. It seems like this national media gave them a lot of praise and seems to think they are one of the better true Super Bowl contenders. I think they still have a lot to prove. I think offensively, they're certainly rounding into form, but defensively, they have a lot of questions to answer, and they're going to get the opportunity here in Week 6. But I do think the Lions are true Super Bowl contenders and will be able to prove it this week. And the Green Bay Packers, who moved to 3-2, did earn the victory over the LA Rams. Jordan Love had his down moments, but was able to climb out of it. They were shorthanded offensively, but still able to get some things done. Now, I've sort of fallen off here a little bit on the Packers as I've watched them play a little bit more and more. And I don't know if they're ultimate true Super Bowl contenders. You have tough teams in that division with Detroit and Minnesota. They're really going to have to get some things done here to stay in the hunt. So I'm moving them down now to that category, and we'll give them a few more weeks to see really who they are. The Houston Texans are another interesting team. They're 4-1, so the record certainly states that they're right there. They have all the pieces to kind of move this thing to the right level. But I just think offensively, there still leaves a lot to be desired. They fall off in second halves. I think the defense has been giving them enough to earn these victories. But C.J. Stroud in that offense, once Nico Collins got injured, really lost their groove. So hopefully he'll come back and get some things back. But until that time, until we start to see a little bit more, I only have them in the hunt. The Colts now move to 2-3 after a tough loss in Jacksonville where they do lose a lot. But this is a team that's, again, it's hard for me not to see them at the very bottom because they're suffering so many injuries. Obviously, with Joe Flacco playing quarterback, it's just tough to see. So hopefully they'll round some things into form as they get a little healthier. I will give them at least another week or two to see where they're at. But for now, I have them barely hanging on. The more and more I pour this over and you look at the Raiders situation, obviously now with the internal struggle with these guys demanding trades away from the organization, things are starting to fall apart in Raiderville. So at this point, I'm moving them into the toilet bowl category. They're still at 2-3. They're certainly in the mix record-wise, but I just don't see good things happening moving forward. Another team with a much-needed bye week here from Week 5, the LA Chargers now enter Week 6. With hopefully a little healthier lineup, hopefully can get some things going offensively. Justin Herbert's ankle rounding back into form. They've been much better defensively. So there is some optimism there, but they're going to have some tough games ahead of them. So I do have them currently in the hunt, but let's see what this team is. The other LA team, the Rams, suffered the loss to the Packers, and I just think they're so hurt offensively. It's tough to climb out of this. I know we've talked about this already in past NFL Tier Mountain walkthroughs, and they've climbed out of this before. But it's hard to think they're going to be able to do it again. They're now at 1-4, and I don't know that I see the same in Matthew Stafford that I have in previous seasons. So right now, I'm going to give them another week of barely hanging on, but it is by a thin thread. And the one team that many had above my top of the mountain team this week, the Minnesota Vikings, the other undefeated team in the NFL at 5-0, got the victory in London over the New York Jets. And we'll talk about them here in just a minute. But the Minnesota Vikings have now proven that they are for real. Although I think Sam Darnold is kind of falling back down to earth a little bit each week. And that will be something to be monitored. I think this defense is truly for real. I think they're able to get enough out of all of the other pieces, and they're able to run this offense efficiently enough for Sam Darnold to where they can really make this thing work. And it's now been proven over 5 weeks. So let's see where they go from here. But for now, I have them as clear Super Bowl contenders. And it's kind of amazing how far the New Orleans Saints have fallen down NFL Mountain. Over the first couple of weeks, their offensive explosion had me thinking they may even be Super Bowl contenders on the NFC side of things. But now at 2-3, the word is Derek Carr with the oblique injury is going to miss potentially several weeks. So what do they do at quarterback? Can they hang on? I just don't know. So at this point, heading into Week 6, I have the New Orleans Saints barely hanging on. And no doubt talking about a team that is barely hanging on, the New York Jets, who we just talked about, the Minnesota Vikings beating them in London and ultimately now leading to the firing of head coach Robert Saleh. Their defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, will take over the head coaching duties in the interim. But you just wonder, where can this team go from here, and why fire him now? Does this ultimately do anything for the Jets? They were doing okay defensively, and is Aaron Rodgers really the problem there? There's a lot of questions with not a lot of answers ahead of them, in my opinion. So to me, the Jets are just barely hanging on. And the Philadelphia Eagles, another tough team to get a read on at 2-2, another bye week team early on in this season. We're going to have to see who they are over the next coming weeks. But you have to imagine now within the division, you have the Cowboys, the Giants got a victory, and obviously the emergence of the Commanders. They're really going to have to get things together quickly. Again, another team with a lot of questions. I still have them in the hunt, but we will see where they go from here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who are well in the mix at 3-2, but you just don't know what the future holds for them at quarterback. Is Justin Fields the answer? Do they continue with him, or do they even think about going over to Russell Wilson? Will that really solve their problems? I really think in watching the game, they just didn't get enough out of the running game and couldn't convert after some decent defensive play against Dallas there on Sunday night. But because of all that, I just don't see a lot in the future either way. So for me, I just don't know who the Pittsburgh Steelers are. And the San Francisco 49ers, another tough one. They fall to 2-3 now in the season after that tough loss to Arizona at home. They allow Arizona in the second half to come back and win that football game after they look to be in control. Again, there's a lot of health concerns there. The San Francisco 49ers have proven that they are a late season team, can certainly put it on. But will they fall in too much of a hole to be able to dig out of it? And that's really the question. I'm going to give them several more weeks to really tell us who they are, but for right now, I have them in the hunt. And after the 3-0 start, Seattle has now slipped down to 3-2. They looked decent against Detroit in that loss there on Monday night, but it's hard to explain what happened against the Giants to follow it up there in week 5. They really just didn't look inspired. I actually took them in a loser pool. I thought for sure they were coming back and getting a victory against a bad Giants team, but that certainly wasn't the case. So I know that they're not healthy on defense, and as things sort of turn around, you hope that this will ultimately help Seattle. But for me, they've slipped out of in the hunt and are now back to the who are you category. Again, we'll have to see over the next several weeks if they can climb out of that. A lot of good things were happening for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they were seconds away from a victory against Atlanta, who were able to steal that away from them. So the Bucs now fall to 3-2, and they also have a lot of health concerns. So hopefully as they get healthier across the board, especially on defense, some of these things will clean themselves up. Baker Mayfield still looks good, and I think that will continue. Because of that, I'll keep the Tampa Bay Bucs in the hunt. And last but certainly not least is the 4-1 Washington Commanders. What a story, what a rise through these NFL rankings, these power rankings and tier lists. Again, I think a lot of positive things there, especially offensively. The defense has actually been okay the last several weeks, so things are really starting to come together, but they will really have a tough test coming up now against the Baltimore Ravens. Right now, I have the Washington Commanders very much so in the hunt. So that's going to do it for our Week 6 NFL Mountain tier list. What did you think? Did your team hit right on the mountain where you expected, or did I completely miss? Did somebody knock off the Kansas City Chiefs? Definitely let me know down in the comments. If you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gas Sports, make sure to hit that like button. It's the best free way to help out the channel. I'd love it if you consider subscribing. We've just gotten over 2,000 thanks to you guys. And if you hit the notify bell, it's the best way you don't miss any future videos. There is a membership option available if you hit the join button on any one of my videos. I'll walk you through how you can become a part of the family. More than anything else, make sure to take care of yourself and your mental health. I want to make sure you come back and see me on future videos. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. Go Lions.